we started off with Rusty Trombone doing his video of, basically co-filleting Trump and Elon Musk in a direct attack on the Jacobin and Mint press. I don't know how they'll recover. Followed up by a new, right-on-right crime with Newsmax attacking Fox via former Fox employees. It's pathetic. It's sad. And it was so fun that I nearly forgot that the world is apparently going to end. But we have Glenn Beck dressed here in his favorite shirt from grade school, in his, I guess, childhood dream bedroom that he had constructed now that he's a rich man to recreate his environment. And I think I wouldn't accuse him of a one-cheek sneak, but in this particular one, he looks like he's double-cheeking it. Yeah, he looks very healthy. He doesn't look at all sunburned and freaked out. Now, this is, everybody's got to settle. You sit for a living in this job. You got to watch your posture. I mean, I can tell, when I look in the thing and my shirt starts to double right here, I'm like, okay, I got to sit up. I got to be aware of that. And usually when I'm at home, I'm sitting on a stool, so it teaches me, I'm sitting up a little bit better. But when you don't, when you're in your childhood room, I mean, I feel like you can just fall into old bad habits. So Glenn, sit up straight, eat your vegetables, get off your phone all the time. So this one, check out this video. Okay, here we go. This is only 13 minutes long, but it's 8 stories. Oh, hold on, let me move this over so you can see it. 8 stories. Where are you, bastard? Is this going to shrink down? What's happening? I guess I have to do it on here. Where's the video? There you go. This guy right here. 8 stories that prove the world is on the brink of disaster. This is the Wars and Rumors of Wars video of the Glenn Beck show. And I know what you're saying. Hal, that's hardly fair. I mean, when your society's been around for a couple thousand years, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars all the fucking time. To wit, whoever rewrote and edited and translated and retranslated and dual translated the Bible is invariably saying, uh-oh, they're on to me. But here it is, 8 stories. And if he only does 3, I'm going to be pissed. 8 stories that prove the world is on the brink of disaster. Now, I will give you time before I start this video to get into your bunker. As we know, on Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, your best bet is to make a survival submarine, which is take an old kerosene tank, bury it in your yard, enter through the top, and don't forget to put fart vents on the other side, or you'll never make it through Armageddon. You'll end up choking each other to death. Okay, so here we go. Like toddler action figure Glenn Beck with newly sunburned, it seems. And by the way, I will be too. I'm a little pink. It's happening. Yeah, see that? I wore sunscreen. We were out on the lake for a while.
Food insecurity.
Food's insecurity. Uh-oh. You're not going to be able to get to Sonic this week?
Food security crisis is on the horizon, and experts now are...
Yeah, he's sick again. Glenn, your problem is not food insecurity. You are far too secure in your food choices. You are, what I would say, comfortable in your food choices. You eat almost nothing but comfort food. Fix your shit, young man.
Saying that it could kill more people than COVID did worldwide.
Yes, we know. Yeah, that's one of the reason number 6,055 why Putin is a murderous fuckhead.
Hope we're not going to feel it too horribly here.
You and Stu.
But if we have open borders, we will, because...
The line, it's El Sonico, as it is going to be known, is clearly going to be around the El Blanco.
They will come in droves because they will not have food in South America. And we should do everything we can. I mean, if I were president today,
we would already be doomed.
I would make it very, very clear.
Instead of taco trucks on every corner, there'd be a Sonic on every corner with free milkshakes every Wednesday. Friday and Sunday. Also Monday, Wednesday.
Cutting the red tape on all energy. I'm cutting all the red tape on farming. And, we'll come.
Yeah, so within a generation, we'll have a dust bowl again, and the price of oil will collapse entirely so that, I guess you're going to nationalize them. So the price will go in the shitter. All of our stuff, well, our companies here won't be able to, buy it because everyone else in the world will buy it up first. It's a great plan. Cut all the red tape. You want to use DDT on your flower garden for your herb garden? Knock yourself the fuck out. Carcinogens.
Back to normal, but right now, we need people to farm and to drill and get energy out of the ground. Do you know what we could do for the rest of the world in good, not by not being involved in war and everything else, just by saying, farmers, here's the mission. Our moonshot is to feed the world in the next 12 to 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So gear up. What do you need?
Gear up. What do you need? Big government intervention in farming. We should nationalize the oil fields, nationalize the farmland. But be careful so we don't become China, right?
We have a moonshot. We need to get oil to the rest of the world.
We need to get oil to the farms.
Because Russia is...
You know what? If we're this close to him doing an ad for, was it Bondo or whatever? It's what plants crave, whatever that, all right.
Going to cut off the oil and the gas. They're talking now already about rationing gasoline and fuel in...
Where?
In Germany.
Yeah, in Germany. Right. Why would that be? Because they trusted Russia even more than we did.
This is going to cripple Europe, and we...
No, it's not. It's going to cripple Germany.
Will go into war if this actually happens.
What? What? No, we won't. Why would we go to war for German gas prices?
And are we stable?
No. You and Stu, mentally, I would argue no. I wouldn't. I've seen no evidence that you are.
We could be so stable right now financially if we were doing the right things to help people in the world. Meanwhile...
Like what? I love how he suddenly cares.
We're just pissing everybody off.
Right now, wait a minute. Right now, we're just pissing everybody off. Why? Because Biden got Saudi Arabia to allow Israeli flights to land in the country because we've realigned with NATO. And it's going so well. The support for NATO is so ubiquitous that Finland and Sweden just joined and Ukraine is going to after this shit is over. What are you talking about? Who are we pissing off that you're worried about? Russia and China? I got news for you, buddy. Fuck them.
China's holdings of U.S. debt have fallen below $1 trillion.
Yeah. It's always been small. It's been 8% for a long time. They buy bonds, dummy. Why is it fallen below that? Because they have to withdraw the money. They had to sell the bonds. The Treasury was buying bonds back to try and affect our inflation numbers. They're buying back securities. So the Chinese are selling them because they need the cash because they're fucked. So what? You think we're not... you think because China's not holding those bonds that other people won't want them? The Fed is destroying that debt.
That's the first time in 12 years.
Good. So fucking what? Now, okay, just for the record, all clamoring about this idiocy aside, this fucker knows about the Evergrande crisis. We talked about it a while back. He knows the current state of the Chinese economy. He's been reading up on this shit. And as much as he bloviates about Hunter Biden and Trump having ties to China and that they're making money and they're going to get bribed and blah, 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 he knows that's all horseshit, and that all of these groups, all the investor groups and stuff, are bailing out of China right now, with the exception of like Ray Dalio and some BlackRock execs. Everybody else are like, fuck this joint.
They're liquidating.
Good. Europe is buying them. What's your point?
All of our bonds. They are not holding our debt. That leaves Japan, which is on the verge of oblivion.
And China isn't?
That leaves Japan as the largest holder now of our U.S.
Single holder. The European Union, they buy bonds too, but it's technically a single body with a bunch of countries in it. Again, this is goofy.
Treasuries. Soon it will just be the Fed. FBI and DHS also have confirmed. And again, are we getting stronger or weaker?
Stronger.
FBI and Department of Homeland Security are purchasing and using Chinese-made drones from a company with close links to the Chinese government. So you know,
DJI, the one company in China that actually innovates the consumer drones.
everything is linked to the Chinese government.
Everything.
You own a business, you have a party member there that is making sure
Right.
that everything you do helps China. We
Unlike the Blaze, for example.
have been warning that we cannot use Chinese technology because Chinese technology is gathering information, and especially from the
Yeah, I saw him talk about this on his TikTok.
DHS and the FBI. Why would you want to use drones that would send information to China?
Well, I mean, obviously, because how are we supposed to fix an election unless we can bounce Chinese drones, that are hovering near election sites, bounce them off a Spanish satellite, send them to Italy to be recalculated?
This is craziness. The only reason you do that is because you're making money or you're beholden to the Chinese government.
No, it's just that they're cheap and expendable. Hold on one second. I want to look at something real quick. This is more than likely. No, thanks. Let me go here. This is kind of what he's talking about, real quick. Let's see if I can get this in here. Try to do this in there. Wait. Oh, I can't bring this up on here. That's annoying. Give me 1 second. Taking this thing, copy this thing, and this is why he's reading it, by the way, too. Here we go. FBI and DHS confirmed they are buying Chinese drones despite security concerns. This is from the Washington Examiner. That Washington Examiner. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security are purchasing and using Chinese-made drones from a company with close links to the Chinese government. He's reading it verbatim from this article. According to testimony from Biden administration officials, the confirmation about the purchases came the same day that the House approved the National Defense Authorization Act, which did not include a ban on U.S. government agencies from using Chinese drones. The United States considers Chinese government-backed Shenzhen DJI Sciences and Technologies, which commonly goes by DJI, to be a Chinese military industrial complex company. Brad Weigman, the Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Department of Justice's National Security Division, testified before the Senate Homeland Security Committee on Thursday that the FBI is buying and making use of drones from DJI. Samantha Vinograd, DHS's acting assistant secretary for counterterrorism and threat prevention and law enforcement policy, was cagier in her response before the Senate, but also confirmed her department was buying and using foreign drones in limited circumstances. A ban on the purchases and use of Chinese drones by federal agencies was unsuccessfully pushed by Republicans such as Mike Gallagher and Michael McCall, the top Republican on House Foreign Affairs Committee. Gallagher's office said, however, that the version of the NDAA that passed does include a ban on the use of DJI drones by federal contractors, such as those working for the Pentagon. DJI hired 2 lobbying firms, according to the Financial Times, Squire Patton Boggs and the Vogel Group, to persuade Congress not to back the American Security Drone Act, which would have banned the government from purchasing Chinese drones. This is just the latest example of how the CCP uses the swamp against us. It just, I mean, we know that Glenn Beck probably has a CCP Google alert in his news, and Washington Examiner CCP pops up immediately in his mailbox. There's a bipartisan recognition that Congress needs to mitigate threats posed by DJI drones, but these efforts have been undermined by lobbyists who would rather sell out the country than lose a lucrative contract. I don't know what contract that is, but okay. The leaders of the Law Enforcement Drone Association, the Drone Service Providers Alliance, and the Airborne Public Safety Association also sent a letter to Congress in June claiming to be worried about the bans on Chinese drones could undermine the use of drones for essential public safety by state, local, and federal agencies. The DJI ones are cheap, and if they're not powered up, they're not sending fucking signals on stuff. And the purpose of them is geolocation of criminal activity. They're not just floating for float's sake. They know what the limitations are, and they only use them in certain circumstances. And they're cheap. And you can, if they get shot out of the sky, I don't give a shit, because they have good ones that are made by DoD contractors that they don't, they don't share the existence of them. I happen to know that they exist and from where. But anyways, it's DJI. These, you can buy these at Best Buy.
Also, Shut Down DC, another Marxist group. Shut Down DC just...
Yes. I mean, you guys know. You get the Shut Down DC newsletter, I presume. I do, obviously.
Announced that they are going to...
Shut down DC? They're going to do what the MAGA truckers were trying to do?
Disrupt the congressional baseball game.
Oh, that's okay. This is, I presume, one of the stories that shows we are on the brink of disaster. I gotta say, I don't think this charts. I'm now annoyed.
Smart. That's smart. I can't imagine anything going wrong there. Getting a bunch of liberals.
Getting the liberals around a baseball game
to show up at the baseball diamond. Oh. Oh my gosh, I just realized that's a really bad idea. Didn't they try to kill all of the members?
No, they did not. A man tried to do something like that. The Shut Down DC crowd didn't do that. And I'm guessing security is better.
The Republican members of Congress?
No, they tried to shoot everybody.
At that same base?
He tried to shoot everybody. He was a Bernie bro.
Ball diamond?
Oh, yeah, but that was so long ago.
They forgot. We should remind them. Who even remembers it?
Nobody.
Yeah. Nobody knows it. I'm Crotchety McJickens. They keep me in the studio just for color commentary. It's terrible.
Deserved it anyway.
I'm a sarcasm detector. Whenever Glenn does some sarcasm, Stu's not convinced that anybody knows he's being sarcastic half the time. So somebody has to jump in and go, oh, whack-a-doo.
Meanwhile, on the
that was a joke. I'm in the joke pointer, so that people don't think Glenn is serious.
Crisis list, BlackRock, its profits have fallen 22%.
Yeah, because they overbought on investment properties and they've been investing in China. Again, fuck them. So what? Yeah, how's Live Nation doing? What I mean, sorry, I don't know. That's not tears. Is that sand coming out of my eyes?
BlackRock is not making the money that they were hoping that they would make on this.
Oh no. Obviously a sign, a shitty company that buys up properties that they're never going to live in, and they're going to price out of the range of most of the people in cities and countryside throughout our nation, that the profits are down. Really? One of the final investors in Chinese real estate outside the country is not hitting their profit margins. This is, by the way, this is, by my count, this would be story number 6 that we're on the brink of disaster. Has there been a story yet where I haven't just said fuck them? I don't think so.
New Green Deal. And speaking of the Green Deal, Biden,
yeah, what's the difference?
according to the Washington Post today, could declare a climate emergency as soon as this week.
Oh dear. You know what that means? Jade Helm, Agenda 21, jackbooted thugs, UN shock troops. Everybody has to live in a coffin hotel like they have in Japan, where you get a little tube and you're fed Soylent Green as people. It's a cookbook.
Potential move comes days
The potential move. Brink of disaster. This would be one of those brink stories.
after Joe Manchin told Democratic leaders he does not support his party's efforts to advance a sprawling economic package this month that includes billions of dollars to address global warming. If emergency is invoked, it could empower the Biden administration in its efforts to reduce carbon emissions and to foster.
It could empower the Biden administration in its efforts to reduce carbon emissions. You know, basically, we're all Uyghurs now.
A cleaner energy. Two
Ew.
individuals with knowledge of the discussion say that
They said, that's a direct quote.
also expect the president to announce a slew of additional actions aimed at curbing planet warming emissions. The exact scope and timing of any announcement remain in flux. The president made it clear if the Senate doesn't act to tackle the climate crisis and strengthen our domestic clean energy industry, he will.
Yeah, he's got limited budgetary control over already allocated funds that he can, through executive order, direct towards purposes that are in line with the legislation that's already been passed, both in the rescue package and in the infrastructure bill. That's what happens when you win the White House. You get to prioritize what you and or your party wants to accomplish.
So that's
I mean, fuck. I mean, that's story number 7, 6. The fuck?
that's really good.
Yeah, that's good. But where's the sarcasm stunt guy? Yeah. Oh, he made a noise. Wait, back the fuck up. Hold on. He did.
Jared Bernstein, top White House.
Hold on. Oh. Hold on. I've got to turn on this thing.
So that's really good.
Did you hear that? So in case they had to cut to it, so people knew that so people wouldn't think that he actually thinks fighting carbon emissions is good. God for fucking bid.
Jared Bernstein, top White House economic advisor, emphasized to reporters,
and swamp rat and globalist friend of George Soros, Super Jew,
at a news briefing earlier in the day that Biden would work aggressively to attack climate change.
Yeah, he's going to punch it right in the dick. Fight and attack climate change. And you know who's standing between him and fighting climate change? You are, your family, your friends, everybody you know, everything you like, anything that tastes good, feels good, or works good, they're going to kill it.
So we got that going for us. We now have the
Was that a lame, like, failed Caddyshack reference? I think so.
last piece that is needed to take over a country. You just need an emergency. That could happen as soon as this week. Meanwhile,
Yeah. I know what you're thinking. Isn't the emergency actually happening? And therefore, the announcement would be to deal with said emergency? No. There's no climate emergency. What? I mean, who doesn't want the UK to finally become like the Bahamas?
Democrats are pushing a bill to add 4 seats to the Supreme Court.
This is a brink of disaster. Some Democrats are pushing a bill for seats. Okay. He sounds like Eric Bolling now.
Unbelievable.
Why? That's been around for a while. 13 circuits, 13 seats. It's not going to happen. Who gives a shit? Even if it did happen, it'd take a fucking year. You can't do it with an executive order. The election's right around the corner. Why would he chance it even if he's not sure that there's going to be a blue tsunami? Because why would you add 4 fucking seats and then have them filled by Republicans? Are you nuts?
Now that would
by
be
the way,
catastrophic.
Now that would be catastrophic.
It's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. If they had 4 seats, obviously, it'd be 6 against 6. That's the end of our nation. 6 against 7, I guess, technically.
You couple the Supreme Court with what would have to be also a filibuster reform, but you pack the
obviously
court, you get rid of the filibuster.
And then the Republicans take over in the fall because TYT and all these slacktivists are talking people out of voting. And then you hand 4 new seats and a lack of filibuster to a Republican House and Senate. What could go wrong? Does anybody have I need a sarcasm stunt guy. Can somebody jump in and go, hey, that would actually be bad.
You declare a national emergency. You do not return from that. You don't.
We've declared several national emergencies that we're no longer technically in. I don't know if you've noticed, but you can get on a plane without a mask or having to check whether or not you've been vaccinated or not. That would be the end of the national emergency from COVID, even though there's an element of it becoming endemic now, for example. So, fuck you, I guess, is...
Yeah, I mean, I think that's...
Yeah, I mean, what reference do we have in the last 2 years of a declared national emergency that doesn't run our life? I mean, basically, it's like we live in Shanghai right now, basically. That's where we are.
It's accurate.
Yeah, it's basically accurate. That's what the Blaze is known for. It's basically accurate. I mean, you gotta set a standard that's within reach.
It's frightening, but it's definitely accurate. And
well, excuse me. How did it go from basically accurate to definitely accurate just because Glenn is staring at you annoyed?
This would accomplish his goal of finishing the fundamental transformation of America that Obama started. And that's what he plans to do, I think.
The fundamental transformation of America. Fucko, he got elected normally. So did Obama. Everybody engaged in this was elected normally. If there's a fundamental transformation of the fucking country, it was Trump trying to stay in power after he lost, you dick. That is not stew, by the way. He's just stewed. That guy is stewed. It's different. Dead air. Thank you. This is a quality. Glenn's just lost. Look at this. I'm sad. He looks like he's like an aging little rascal sitting on the stoop next to Petey the dog going, well, Petey, I guess we're fucked now.
I think.
Imagine
if you could connect thoughts and actually have anything worth saying that actually would have value to your listeners other than a low-res panic attack that they just live with all the time. I mean, it must be so relaxing, Glenn, to just be in the business of creating fabricated problems and zero fucking solutions, except the cavalry's over the hill. Trust me on this. P.S. They might not be coming, so buy a barrel of pancake batter and go climb into your bunker.
Imagine.
There's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
Imagine.
There's no stew. The rest of us would get pie. Imagine all the peepholes.
Imagine.
Living life in peeps. You. Great. This is great. This is must hear radio. This man is on the radio.
America being lost.
Imagine America being lost. And by lost, I mean largely electric. And imagine America without lead pipes. Imagine, if you can, America with where you could go to the store without having to worry that some lunatic with an AR-15 would just shoot up the produce section because he hasn't gotten laid in 6 months. I mean, whatever happened to America? What do we live in, some sort of like John Denver, Jimmy Carter fantasy of being able to, imagine people being able to just go about their business without being worried about slung ammo and choking on exhaust. I mean, what is this? I don't even recognize America anymore.
I mean, I think we're going to really see, the world will feel America's loss, I think, in the next 24 months.
In the next 24 months, give or take. 7 to 24. I've got 24 to 36. I mean, in 24 months, obviously, it's right around the corner. Next 24 months, right up to the election. Weird how that times out.
I think when
seldomly, randomly,
we start to go into global food crisis, there are not going to be bags of wheat from the United States that are coming in. There's not going to be all that food that we've shipped that usually rots on the tarmac because
what? Yes, what will all the starving people of the world do without all the food we send that rots on tarmacs? What? What is this man clamoring for? This shit that rots on the what is this?
That usually rots on the tarmac.
Yeah, the food that we send that normally doesn't feed anybody. Imagine if there's no food there to not feed anybody. What is he talking? All right.
Because, it's all corrupt.
Where will these countries be without the food that we send there that the corrupt governments don't actually give to the people that need it, who are alive because of the food we send that doesn't get to them? Jesus Christ. This guy talks every day for hours. He doesn't have the views. He's got 802,000 subscribers just on his YouTube channel and 21,000 views on this video. I mean, he's not doing Russell Brand numbers, but his shit's longer, so that's probably why.
And I think we're going to see the rest of the world feel the absence of
the rotten food that they didn't need in the first place. The fuck?
The United States in our charitable giving.
which no one gets because of corruption and rots on a tarmac.
It's
almost as if I'm stuffing my own head up my own ass.
terrifying.
No, it isn't. What do we have to live? BlackRock is losing money. Food support that we send to countries that doesn't actually feed people will not go there anymore. Gas will go away and will go electric, which is horrifying. And all this will happen, and Americans, because of some sort of assault weapons ban, won't have the ability to shoot each other randomly like the good old days.
Terrifying.
Well,
It's terrifying. You know what's terrifying? That.
by far, for as long as I think any kind of records have been kept, the United States of America, American citizens have been the most generous on the face of the planet.
Apparently too much so, according to Glenn Beck, because why the fuck are we giving all this food when it's just going in the shitter?
To the tune of, we think that our government gives a lot in foreign aid.
And it does.
Private individuals and corporations give over $300 billion a year to the rest of the planet.
And they're not going to be able to do that because they're going to be too busy going to Sonic?
Oh, I mean, that's something that, if we have a catastrophe, then those people in poverty, in abject poverty, they're going to be left to fend for themselves. It's going to be a disaster if it happens.
I think this is going to be remembered as Mao's 5-year plan.
Yes. Biden is enacting Mao's 5-year plan. If Biden gets reelected, there will be no birds in America.
When he starved millions of people to death because
Yeah. You mean Putin?
he knew a better way to farm. And he didn't. He knew nothing about farming.
Dude is actually just going, we need to cut all the red tape and just let people farm like fucking crazy. Let them use all the chemicals they want. Use them all like take the oil. I mean, they said like petro fertilizer, right? So pour the gas right on the crops. It's what plants crave.
But he claimed that, he was inspired and he could fix farming for China. And
Is that what he said?
the first year, I don't remember what it was, like 2 million people died. And he said, just
Just hang on. It'll work. Trust me.
keep going. Then the next year, like 10 million people died. In the end, I think it was 30
People were like, I'm getting the feeling that the plan isn't to actually save us. That's weird.
million that died in his 5-year plan. And
By the way, the description that Glenn Beck gave earlier, saying, to basically dereg farming and just say produce for some imaginary level, and the same thing with like oil drilling, isn't that far from what Mao instituted.
he didn't care. He just didn't care because it's good for everybody else. This is so Malthusian.
He didn't care because it was good for everybody else. He was so altruistic that he had to murder other people. By the way, Mao apparently didn't brush his teeth. He swished tea in the morning and didn't wash his genitals because he said, I washed them in the genitals of my concubines. Sweet guy. Ugh.
He just didn't care because it's good for everybody else. This is so Malthusian. The Malthusians believe that
that bad Mal, Thus, as in worshippers of Thusia.
that we got to get rid of humans. There's just too many humans. And any way to liquidate humans is good. Now, think of that when you talk about climate change.
Yeah, if you fix climate change, the Malthusians wouldn't like it. Because nothing will get rid of humans faster than an inhospitable environment.
How many people do you hear when they talk about the planet, talk about how it's too crowded, we have too many people?
Yeah, it's not the same conversation. Also, demographically, that's not a problem anymore. As a matter of fact, I have to say, I think Thanos was us culturally jumping the shark on the there's too many people. That put a pin in that for most people's argument.
I don't think we need to bring any more people into the world. Look at the Malthusian kind of attitude of the complete live system, that once you're over really fit.
Yeah, Logan's Run. That's where we're headed. We're fucking headed. That's the argument. This is Logan's Run. We're headed towards Logan's Run. Limited. We're trying to kill off a swath of humans. So we're going to get to where if you're 35 years old, you got to jump in a fucking pit.
50, but definitely 60. You get very little medical care because there's no purpose for you to live anymore. You're not serving society.
Yeah. That's the Republican healthcare plan you're talking about, buddy.
It's
2 weeks away. It's going to be here anytime.
It's a frightening thing when you look at
the inside of Mitch McConnell's brain.
The same kind of progressive thought that brought you Planned Parenthood and the murder of millions of babies. No babies were murdered in the institution of the right to choose that a woman has. They didn't reach the baby phase, and the only ones that did were either stillborn or ectopic or were going to kill the mother, and that was a difficult choice by the woman involved, and also not a part of the Planned Parenthood part of it. Planned Parenthood's institution of as an abortion service provider is often in the earliest part of it. The later ones often come in people who fully intended to have a child, were going through with it at the time, and something awful happened that made them have to terminate the pregnancy. I keep doing that. Pregnancy, so that they can survive and have more children in the future. The same group of people, the American progressives, that taught Germans about eugenics and all of the nasty stuff of...
Yeah, the Germans wouldn't have known a thing about it. So let me get this straight. And I've got to explain it slowly because I don't know anything about timing or intricacies of programs because as a German, I've got no skills in that area. But slow down. So let me get this right because Hitler's going to want to hear this very clearly. So what we do is you're saying that we're not going to be able to bury all these people if we just hang them. So you're saying a furnace would be some... How do we get them into the furnace? Oh, we're gassing... The gassing first. I wrote it down backwards. I'm sorry. So can you start again? And this time without the communist part of it, because we're currently in a war with Russia, and it's not that I can't bring that stuff up right now.
Race purity. A lot of that came from us and our progressive movement here in the United States.
Well, I as a duly designated representative of the German people in the early parts of the 30s and 40s, I'm just going to go with not progressive so much. I mean, it depends on your idea of progress. Obviously, we had a very distinctly different view of, say, diversity. I would just hardly say that Hitler wouldn't specifically been declaring himself woke, for example. There's no woke movement. Like the Volkswagen is not a Volkswagen. You know what I'm saying? This is not the kind of thing that we mean in any type of way. This German accent is creeping me out. I have to say this.
Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff is still going on.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And by the way, well, even the Chinese concentration camps, they don't have the guts to go as far as the Germans did. So much stuff has to be done at the table because the rest of the world isn't putting up with it. That was the message of World War II. Hey, Germany, fuck around and find out.
In just different ways.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's basically Auschwitz, but it's like a kinder, gentler Auschwitz. It's like instead of lining us up and burning us alive or hanging us or gassing us and then burying us, they just let us go to Sonic until the chemicals in our food kill us. This is basically the same thing. This is basically we created Sonic for Glenn, so you would know this.
But it's still going on. You wipe out a whole bunch of people using starvation because of a war.
Yeah, well, that's what Russia is doing, dummy.
Couldn't do anything about it when it's absolutely a lie. When we're just going to have to take those blows to the face because we got to get off of green energy.
All right, we have to take those blows to the face because we've got to get off of green energy. I mean, you can't really blame Glenn. When you got a bunch of when your talking points are shit, it's hard to tell one turd from another. You know what I'm saying?
People are suffering or die. They don't care. It actually helps their plan.
Well, you remember what Bernard Shaw said in what is this, the 30s?
You must all know half a dozen people at least who are no use in this world, who are more trouble than they are worth.
Yeah, that's great. I heard him. I had no idea that Bernard Shaw was Charlie Brown's teacher. Ladies and by the way, a momentary interlude where I present to you Chewbacca talking to Charlie Brown's teacher. Thanks. I would like to say, for the record, that made more sense than the entire clip.
Just put him there and say, sir or madam, now will you be kind enough to justify your existence? If you can't justify your existence, if you're not pulling your weight in the social rope.
It sounds like Steve Martin in the final episode of the first season of Only Murders in the Building, when he's in the chair and he's been drugged.
Then,
thank you. I'm very proud of my Wookiee.
clearly,
That's a good shot. Thank you. Thank you. That's where the ghost of Bernard Shaw is in this shot.
we cannot use the big organization of our society for the purpose of keeping you.
Honestly, this is just shit. Like, sometimes I have sound problems because I'm just running this stuff myself. Look at all this fucking gear. I have gear envy, I will completely admit, in terms of Glenn Beck's studio. That said, who the fuck?
Aye, because your life does not benefit us, and it can't be of very much use to yourself.
George Bernard Shaw. That's just staggering.
Yeah, it's staggering. How is it that George Bernard Shaw could say something so clear and concise? Jason, I don't think your speaker was blown. That's what it sounded like. It wasn't loud. It was just overblown on their end. The volume of the clip didn't change at all on my end.
Famous playwrights in world history.
And yet we couldn't find a better clip of him to play on the show. I mean, maybe this is, by the way, maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe this is one of the 8 stories that prove we're on the brink of disaster, is that these assholes can't even play an audio clip from fucking YouTube.
And that's how he felt.
Yeah, he felt like... Sons of fire.
About people? Whatever. If you can't produce as many potatoes as you consume, well, we're just going to have to kill you. I mean, not in a mean way. Well,
I'm about ballparking here.
we'll make sure that your death is fairly painless, but you have to be killed.
Well, he was and he was the guy who said there's got to be a way to have some sort of a gas or gas chamber where you could kill people quickly and efficiently. I mean,
and the Germans were like, I gotta say, it's funny that you would bring this up, George, because we've been working on something like this for quite some time, and I honestly don't want to brag, but I think we've nailed it.
It's George frickin' Bernard Shaw that was the first to express gas chambers for the.
It's not the first to fucking anything. Hold on one second. Oh boy. The first use of gas chambers was, and the reason why Shaw probably brought them up, the U.S. using them as a way of killing condemned prisoners. The gas chamber was first adopted in the U.S. state of Nevada in 1921 in an effort to provide a more humane form of capital punishment. Before we hung them, or we shot them. And this one was just trying to give them a big, the dirt nap. On February 8th, 1924, G. John became the first person to be executed by lethal gas. By 1955, 11 U.S. states had adopted the gas chamber as their method of execution, but by early 21st century, it was available only in 2 states, California and Missouri, where condemned prisoners were allowed to choose between lethal injection and lethal gas. In Arizona, inmates sentenced to death before November 1992 were allowed to choose between lethal injection and lethal gas. In Wyoming, lethal gas was designated to replace the lethal injection if the latter method was ruled unconstitutional. From 21 to 72, when the U.S. Supreme Court commenced its moratorium on the death penalty, lethal gas was applied in some 600 executions from 1976, when the moratorium ended, to 1999, when it was used in only 11 executions. The high cost of renovation, disused gas chambers, as well as a growing perception of the method as unconstitutionally cruel, contributed to its trend, leading some scholars to predict in the early 21st century that the method would not be used again. Just so. Oops, wrong one. We're almost done. These were the 8 stories, by the way.
Liquidation of people.
Incredible.
I mean,
jeez.
Wake up. We are headed in the same kind of direction with the same crazy, dangerous people.
No, we're not. There are no modern progressives who are the current George Bernard Shaw calling for, well, we gotta start killing some of these people. We gotta start thinning the herd. That's your guys. There's plenty of those fuckers all over BitChute going, the liberals are just useless eaters. We need to clean this shit up. Okay, hold on one second.